Good day, BML second year students enrolled in Laboratory Management subject. I am Josephine Rojas Cuauhtor, and here today to talk to you about the introduction to management. The learning outcomes for today's lecture are the following. So I hope at the end of this video lecture, the students will be able to explain the difference of leadership and management, discuss the different functions of management, as well as the different roles, levels, and skills a manager must possess. To start with, here is an excerpt of the case study written in the Laboratory Management by Harmony, and it states, "Congratulations, you have just been promoted to laboratory manager in a medium-sized community hospital after 6 years of working in the chemistry laboratory. You are well respected by your peers and knowledgeable of laboratory practices. However, some of the staff have questioned why you received the promotion since you have had very little formal management or supervisory training. The administrator asks you to lead task force to increase outreach business for the hospital. She tells you that you must increase market share in the next 6 months. Now, students, with these issues and questions raised by the given case study, how are you going to face the challenges as a good leader? So what is leadership then? How it is different with management? According to Daniel Goleman, who is an internationally known psychologist, author, science journalist, and a writer as well for the New York Times, leadership is not domination, but the art of persuading people to work toward a common goal. While for Susan Cummings, who is a professor emerita of student affairs at the University of Maryland, focusing particularly on leadership projects, leadership is viewed and valued differently by various cultures and disciplines. While for Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th U.S. President who had been Supreme Commander of the Allied forces in Western Europe during World War II, leadership is the art of getting someone else to do something you want done because he wants to do it. How is leadership different from management? Management is a process by which human efforts are coordinated and combined with other resources to accomplish organizational goals and objectives. Management is also the concept of achieving organizational goals in an effective and efficient manner by working with and through people. So by these definitions given to management, generally management is the act of getting people together to accomplish desired goals and objectives using available resources efficiently and effectively. According to Mary Parker Follett, who has been called as the mother of modern management, management is the act of getting things done through people. It also focuses on these three different aspects. We have tasks, achievement, and people. Tasks or jobs. Okay? So, kailangan ang management may specific task or job description that is assigned to its employees. How about for the achievement? The organization has one specific goal, and that is to be successful. Okay? And sino ang gagawa nitong dalawa? Of course, kailangan ang management merong tao, merong employees and people to do these things. Now, management also operates within an organization. It is the pursuit of organizational goals efficiently and effectively. So to have a good management, kailangan merong a good manager in directing or leading his people or what we call his subordinates. Kung may good manager, syempre naman kailangan meron ding good subordinate. good subordinate in doing things in the right way in order to meet the goal and objectives of the organization. Now, managerial skills require both efficiency and effectiveness, but the distinction between these two is especially important to explain why some managers are highly effective or are highly effective but inefficient, or some managers are highly efficient but ineffective. So this efficiency and effectiveness are two different words that can't be used interchangeably. Efficiency is the means, while effectiveness is the end. Effectiveness and efficiency are further differentiated on this slide. When you say efficiency, it is doing the things right. For example, completing a task cheaper or faster. Efficiency is ability to get things done correctly. How about effectiveness? Effectiveness is doing the right things, things that yield positive results or ends. So when you say effectiveness and efficiency, they are both capable of producing a result, but there is a simple difference between the two. When you say effective, it means producing a result that is wanted, or shall we say that is intended. While when you say efficient, it means it is still capable of producing a result without wasting time, energy, or even money as well. So the difference is that you produce a result in effectiveness even though you did it with using the unnecessary resources to do so. But when you say effective, it produces a result, but it does so in a quick or lesser material, money, energy, or effort as well. Now take this as an example. You are a newly hired registered medical technologist in the hospital. Being your senior staff, I am tasked to teach you how these machines work. So I decided to give you a laboratory manual instead. Are you going to learn by reading the laboratory manual? I could say yes. Why? Because this laboratory manual, even though ang kapal niya, it consists of the step-by-step procedure or method, and each step has explanations. Bakit or paano ginagawa or gina-operate ang machine. But I could say that it would be more efficient if I will just demonstrate to you. I will just show you how these machines are to be operated in a shorter period of time. Another example would be, since we are in the pandemic crisis, we are told by the IATF to stay at our respective homes. And one of our household chores or tasks is to clean the house. So, kaya naman natin gawin yun. Kaya natin linisin ang ating bahay even though wala tayong gina-follow na process. But it would be more efficient if we do have this organized technique or procedure to follow along the way to do the cleaning, okay? Because it will take less time and energy in doing so. Another example is in going to our respective workplace. Walking could be effective, but it would be more efficient if you drive using your own cars because it will take less time and energy by doing so. But take note that both methods, walking and driving, could take us there, would allow us to go to our workplace. So I hope you get that right. Another example is, since we are in the medical field, one setting is a hospital. If one hospital is not doing well, it may decide to train its employees to use a new technology. The training may go well along the way, with employees learning the new technology in record time. But if the hospital's overall impact or productivity doesn't improve, even though meron ng implementation of the new technology that has been learned by its employees during the training, the hospital's strategy was efficient but not effective. Okay? Now, take note, class, that in today's healthcare environment, the production of quality laboratory results is only one many expected outcomes that must be achieved for a medical laboratory to attain success. And remember that being a medical technologist, our main goal is to release accurate and precise results with all honesty. Other facets leading to success include marketability, cost management, benchmarking, re-engineering, personnel management, personnel development, staff empowerment, collaboration, standardization, and of course, providing exceptional services. So these are the ways or methods in order to have a good management. Now, the competition among healthcare providers rivals that among the major business corporations. Ang dami na, for example, sa restaurant, if you just look around, ang dami ng restaurant sa paligid. But how could this one restaurant survive or compete from other restaurants? How difficult the competition becomes, successfully managed organizations invest in their people. In business, a competitive advantage is the attribute that allows an organization to outperform its competitors. So, kailangan merong competitive advantage of which one organization must possess. And how to do that? By following these ways, such as innovation, quality, service, speed, cost competitiveness, and sustainability. So, let's have the innovation first. When you say innovation, it refers to the introduction of new goods and services. Goods or services which is either new or just improved version of previous goods or services. So, innovation is a huge creator of economic value and a driver of competitive advantage. Take for an example, within the region, particularly in Davao City, ang dami ng mga tertiary hospitals. Meron ding freestanding laboratories. So, in order for the people to be attracted to get examined with in the said freestanding laboratories, kailangan ang freestanding laboratories meron siyang innovations. Or shall we say, meron siyang laboratory examinations that are different or cannot be found from that tertiary hospitals. And that is really possible. That is really possible para mag-survive ang freestanding laboratories. Another way is through quality. When you say quality, it refers to the excellence of the product. Quality is an important means of gaining competitive advantage. Companies with strong and consistent quality would likely to survive. The company believes that clients who really care about quality are willing to pay that bit more to obtain it and see the extras as worth the additional expense. Take note, class, that a customer who is happy with the first buying experience needs and wants to be equally happy on each further occasion. Do you still remember in your PMLS laboratory, have experience using different brands of syringe? Okay? Kung gagamitin mo yung mas mura, syempre, yung quality medyo hindi maganda. As a result, you will take, hindi masyadong maganda ang result in terms of the blood extraction. But when you say a more expensive one but with good quality, syempre, yung blood extraction mo, the laboratory specimen that is extracted from the procedure will be convincing. Okay, maganda. You will have this desired result as you wanted. Another way is through service. Service is giving customers what they want or need when they want it as well. You must identify what they want or need and how your offerings can make their lives better. For example, when you compare the public hospital or government hospital from that of the private hospital. So kahit mahal or malaki ang gagastusin mo doon sa private hospitals, but the service is really good. Pagpasok mo lang doon sa hospital, meron ng aabang sa'yo, meron ng sasalubong sa'yo to show you the way, to show you saan ang laboratory, saan ang admitting section, and the like. Okay? Now, compared to that government hospital, syempre, a number of people is overwhelming. Maraming nagpapa-hospital dyan. Syempre, kasi nga, libre. Okay? Kung hindi man libre, maliit lang talaga ang gagastusin mo as compared to that high figures that you will be spending from that private hospital. Another way is through speed. Speed could refer to rapid execution, response, and delivery of the product or goods that the company possess. So, businesses across varying industries have quickly realized that speed can be used to develop a competitive advantage. Now, for example, in the internet connection here in the Philippines, syempre hindi naman kaila sa atin that the internet connection here in the Philippines is so slow. So are you satisfied or convinced with their service or with the speed of this internet connection? Diba? Syempre medyo hindi. Okay? That's why the Philippine government is inviting another telecommunication company or another agency which could give us a more convincing and higher internet connection. So I hope that will happen in due time. Another way to attain competitive advantage is through cost competitiveness. It refers to keeping costs low enough to generate profit at levels attractive to consumers. So when you say cost competitiveness, it is when a company can utilize its skilled workforce, inexpensive raw materials, controlled costs, and efficient operations to create maximum value to consumers. So we have several laboratories here in Davao City. Some have the same machines in processing the laboratory tests, but they don't have the same pricing. And the last but definitely not the least is sustainability. Sustainability is the effort to minimize the use and loss of resources. So when you say sustainable competitive advantage, it's really required for a company to thrive into this global environment. Value investors search for companies that are bargains. Okay? To avoid purchasing a value trap, one of the factors we search for is sustainable competitive advantages. Now, the functions of today's healthcare manager are more diverse, complex, and interdependent. As a process, management refers to the procedure or functions, such as on this slide. These are the functions of management that an organization must possess, and these are the following: planning, organizing, leading or directing, and controlling. So, it is a systematic way of doing things. It is imperative that a manager must obtain all these functions to attain both job and personal satisfaction as well. So let's start with planning. On this slide, it describes what planning is, or it defines what planning is. Planning is the foundation area of management. Planning is said to be the basic function of management. Its performance, or one of its tasks, is to deliver strategic value, specify the goals to be achieved, and also in deciding what actions are needed to achieve the goals. Planning involves setting objectives and determining a course of action for achieving those objectives. In short class, when you say planning, it means determining what the organization's position and the situation should be in the future, and decide how best to bring about that situation. When you say organizing, it refers to assembling and coordinating the human, financial, physical, informational, and other resources needed to achieve goals. It is also tasked to attract people, specifying job responsibilities, grouping jobs into work units, marshalling and allocating resources, as well as creating conditions so people and things work together. So when you say organizing per se, it is defined as the process by which the established plans are moved closer to realization. Once a manager sets goals and develops plans, his managerial function is to organize these resources, or shall we say the human resource and other resources that are identified as necessary by the plan to reach the goal. And take note, always remember that the goal is to be successful, of course, in the organization. Another function of management is through leading. When you say leading, it refers to managing, motivating, and directing people. So it is tasked to stimulate people to be high performers, to be top performers, to be at their best, to bring out the best to our employees. It is also tasked in motivating and communicating with employees both individually and in groups. So leading is the skill of influencing people for a particular purpose or reason, and that is to be successful, as what I have mentioned a while ago. And leading is the most important and challenging of all managerial activities. Okay? Some consider it as the most important. And leading is influencing or prompting the member of the organization to work hand in hand, to work together with the interests of the organization. So we are through with the three previous functions of management. So let's now discuss controlling. So when you say controlling as the basic function of management or as one of the functions of management, it refers to monitoring and evaluating activities. It monitors performance and implements necessary changes. It also makes sure that all the resources needed by the organization are being used properly. Organization also involves the meeting of its goals. Example of which is the quality and the safety of all its workers. Now, monitoring progress is essential to ensure the achievement of organizational goals. So when you say controlling, it also includes measuring, comparing, finding deviation, and correcting the organization activities which are performed for achieving the goals or objectives of the said organization. So these are the following. These are the functions of management: planning, organizing, leading, and controlling. These functions of management, such as planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, are very important in management. These functions work as a continuous process. So always remember, class, that managers should devote adequate attention and resources to all of the four functions of management. So moving on, now we have learned already the functions of management. Now let's proceed to management levels. Now there are three different management levels, and these are the following: the top level management, the middle level management, and the frontline level of management. Now, to start with, let's have the top level management. Top level managers are considered senior executives responsible for overall management. They are also known as strategic managers. Some may refer them as administrative uh, level of managers. Now, one of the tasks of the top level managers is to focus on long-term issues and emphasize the survival, growth, and overall effectiveness of the organization. So they coordinate services and are very keen on planning. They are accountable, take note of this, the top level managers are accountable to the shareholders for the performance of the organization. So the top level management controls the management of goals, policies, as well as the ultimate source of authority of the organization. They apply control and coordination of all the activities of the firm as they organize the several departments of the enterprise, which would include budget, techniques, and agendas. Now, examples of these top-level managers are chief executive officers, chief operating officers, and president. How about the middle-level management? The middle-level managers are also known as the tactical managers. Okay, now one of the tasks of these middle-level managers are to translate the general goals and plans developed by the top-level managers into more specific objectives and activities. They are said also to be close to frontline managers. They know the problems and opportunities. And these middle-level managers are subordinates of the top-level management and are responsible for the organization and direction of the low-level management. And to whom they are accountable for? They are accountable for the top-level management for the activities of their departments. An example of these middle-level managers are department managers and branch managers. And let's talk about the frontline managers. Frontline managers are also known as operational managers. From the word operational, they are tasked to oversee and direct the operative employees. They spend most of their time addressing the functions of the firm as instructed by the managers above them. So they represent the management to the operative workers as they ensure discipline and efficiency in the organization. Another task is to supervise the operations of the organization, as I mentioned nga kanina. So it links between, or they link between the management and non-management employees. They also implement the specific plans developed by the middle managers. So when the top level management is accountable for the shareholders, the middle level management is accountable for the top level management, and to whom these frontline managers are accountable for. They are accountable from for the middle level management, who are the management that is above them. So example of these frontline managers are supervisors. Now we are done with the basic functions of management. We are also done with the different levels of management. Now, let's talk about the management roles. As you can see, all managers must be comfortable with these three main roles, and these are decisional, informational, and interpersonal. But to do their jobs as managers, managers assume these different roles. No manager stays in any one role all of the time. Take note. No manager stays in any one role all of the time, but shifts back and forth. Okay, so the management roles are decisional, informational, and interpersonal. To start with, let's have the informational roles. So these are the specific informational roles. We have being monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson as well. So let's talk about the different descriptions or jobs and examples of each specific role under informational role. To start with, let's have being a monitor. Okay, so when you say monitor, it receives, or he receives rather, a wide variety of information, serves as nerve center of internal and external information of the organization. So managers under this specific role is to or are responsible for scanning their environment for information. Okay, so the important thing is that the manager has their ears to the ground and is waiting for this vulnerable information to relay to their organization, to all of its employees. Okay, so examples of the task is handling all mail and contacts categorized as concerned primarily with receiving information. Okay, now how about disseminator? So disseminator, the moment that this information have been received, the task of the disseminator is to transmit information received from outsiders or other subordinates to members of the organization. So example of the task is forwarding mail into organization for information purposes. Verbal contacts involving information flow to subordinates such as review sessions. So another is being a spokesperson. Now, what are the tasks of being a spokesperson? So it transmits information to outsiders on organizations, plans, policies, actions, and results, and also serve as an expert on organizations industry. So examples is being present in the board meeting, handling contacts involving transmission of information to outsiders. Take note that when you are tasked being a spokesperson, you are not only aware of the four corners of your organization or your department, you must also possess this a good communication skill. Just imagine, harap ka sa mga big boss of your company or the big bosses from other companies as well. So, kailangan marunong ka rin magsalita, di ba? Since you will be representing your company in the board meeting or in the or in the conference. So these informational roles include, from the word itself, information, involve the receiving and sending of information, whether as a monitor, disseminator, or spokesperson. So usually the top manager is the voice of the organization and has to be aware that even personal opinions will reflect. Okay, with the free flow of information on the internet, it is very difficult for top managers to separate their personal identities from their corporate positions. Now, the informational role, or yes, the informational role for first line managers or the frontline managers is primarily one of disseminating what they have been given and helping the employees to see how their own contributions further further improve their organizational goals. Okay, now how about the other management role? Let's have decisional role. When you say decisional role, its task is to generally is to make decisions and implement these decisions, the decisions that they have made for the department or for the organization as well. Now, this decisional role has its specific roles. These are being entrepreneur, disturbance handler, resource allocator, and being a negotiator. Now, what does entrepreneur do? Now, the entrepreneur searches organization and its environment for opportunities and initiates projects to bring about the change. And examples of the task is to strategize and review sessions involving initiation or design of improvement projects. Now, being the entrepreneur in a firm are usually the top-level managers. They identify economic opportunities which lead for the initiative of the change and make product decisions. Now, how about disturbance handler? Disturbance handler specifically are responsible for corrective action when organization faces important and unexpected disturbances. They are responsible for responding to events or circumstances that are beyond their control. And examples of which, okay, is to strategize and review sessions involving disturbances and crisis. Now, take note, class, that the disturbances, the circumstances that I have mentioned a while ago are too significantly for a manager to ignore. So, some kind of actions are needed. Example of these circumstances are deteriorating economic conditions, labor actions or labor studies or problems, natural calamities or natural disasters, competitive actions, and product issues. So those are the tasks or jobs from which the disturbance handler is tasked to do so. How about being a resource allocator? Resource allocator makes or approves significant organizational decisions by what? Scheduling, requests for authorization, budgeting, the programming of subordinates work. So, kung ako ang resource allocator, kailangan kilala ko ang aking employees. Kailangan alam ko kung sino yung employee ko na bibigyan ko ng task in budgeting. So, kailangan I know everybody in my department. Now, how about the negotiator? When you say negotiator, he is responsible for representing the organization at major negotiations. So, siya responsible for contract negotiation. Depending on the effect of the organization, most negotiation is done by top and middle level managers. Top managers will handle negotiations that affect the entire organization, such as union contracts or trade agreements, while the middle-level managers commonly negotiate most salary and hiring decisions. But whatever the decisions it may be, the act or the task of the negotiator is to negotiate supplies contracts, employees' grievances, and employee labor contracts. So those are the following examples. So take note how when you say decisional, it is the task of making and implementing decisions. And we have another management role, and that is interpersonal role. So interpersonal roles, from the word interpersonal, it generally talks about relating and interacting with people, particularly with his subordinates. So interpersonal role has these specific roles, and that is figurehead, leadership, and liaison. So when you say figurehead, managers have to act as figurehead because of their formal authority and symbolic position. They represent the organization. As I mentioned, being a symbolic head required to perform a number of routine duties of legal or social nature. An example of these tasks is to attend ceremonies, status requests, or solicitations. So it would be significant if a figurehead in the organization would attend to employees' wedding ceremony. Though it is insignificant for some, but it would be of great help in order to run the organization smoothly. Another interpersonal role is being a leader. So from the word itself, being a leader, he is responsible for the motivation. Okay? Di ba sabi ko, motivating people to be top performers, and also the direction of the subordinates. And example of the tasks is virtually all managerial activities involving the subordinates. So being a leader, the managers have to bring together the needs of an organization and also those of the individuals under their command. How about being liaison? So when you say liaison, he maintains a network of outside contracts who provide favors and information. Example of a task is the acknowledgement of mail, external or board work. So when you act as liaison, the manager serves as a connection, okay? A connection between their own organization or subunit to those outside of it. So the liaison also establishes contacts with their peers as well as the customers or the suppliers, which can serve as the valuable source of information for the success of your company, of your organization. So these are the different managerial roles or management roles of which a good manager must possess in order to be successful in their field. Okay? Okay, class, we are through with the functions of management, the management levels, as well as the different roles of management. Now let's discuss the management skills. The roles that the manager plays in the organization require having some skills. Okay, for the manager to be called as such. Now, these are the skills or qualities that an organization looks for in a person to assign him as a manager. And these are technical skill, conceptual skill, and interpersonal skill. When you say technical, it refers to the ability of a manager to perform a specialized task that involves a certain method or process. So, pangit din naman, you are the manager and you don't know how to operate the machine. So, dapat, being a manager, dapat mas alam mo how to process, how to operate the certain machine compared to your employees because ikaw nga mag-guide sa kanila, ikaw nga ang una magturo sa kanila. Then, when you say technical skill is the knowledge of and proficiency in activities involving methods, processes, and procedures. How about the conceptual skill? So, this conceptual skill refers to the identification and resolving problems for the organization. When you say conceptual skill, it is the ability to see the bigger picture, to recognize significant elements in a situation, and to understand the relationships among these elements. How about interpersonal skill? So we have learned already this word a while ago. So when you say interpersonal skill, it refers to interacting with people, ability to work well with people. So take note that for you to become a good manager, you must learn how to have a good relationship with your subordinates or with your employees in order to run the organization smoothly, professionally, of course. Now, having been said all these management skills, being a manager is not an easy task. It is said to be a difficult one. But if you possess that eagerness and the drive to become as such, then you can be a good manager. So that's all for today's lecture. I hope you learned a lot, students. So thank you for listening and stay safe and God bless.